Hey kids, welcome to lesson 2 in graphic design. Today we're going to look at an image that is on the lower end of the resolution, a type of image you probably want to stay away from. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to work with today. Go ahead and open up Project 2 NR and you will find the school's logo. Remember, this first box we don't have to worry about. We can go ahead and just click OK and get to our image. Here is our image. So this is the classic NR logo for the school. I took this off of the main web page. This is 75 by 75, so this represents a very small picture. This is in JPEG format. Looking at this image, there's a couple of things going on. First, you can see I have a gradient in the background. That means I'm going from light to dark. That always gives the program a little issue. I also have these little black bars back there. That's probably going to cause some problems. Real low resolution here. You can see if I zoom in, it is really hard to make out what's what. And on the bottom, my least favorite thing in this class, text. We are going to go over this many times, but you almost never, ever want to edit text in this class. It is far easier to use the text tool to make it, so please don't attempt it. The only time you really want to edit any font is if it is embedded into your logo, like our NR here, and it's something you simply can't type out. So please stay away from editing fonts. Let's go ahead and get this set up to edit. I'm going to hit my select bar, click on my image, go up to path. Third one down is trace bitmap. That'll bring up this box here. We only have to worry about edge detection, so we're going to go down here, click that. Once that's clicked, we're going to hit update, and it'll bring up an updated picture in there. That is starting to look worrisome already. Once I hit update, I'm going to hit OK. You will see a separate box in the background pop up, and that is my rough trace of what I just did. Click my red X. I'm going to zoom out a little, hold the control key down, hit the wheel mouse, and I'm going to move the image over. So I have my original image, and then I have my trace. Remember, while this is a vector image, this isn't the file format I need. I need it to be into DXF. How do we get it there? I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to name this either my last name or something. I'm just going to keep this NR logo for right now. The important part, the Save As type, click down here. Middle way down, it's DXF or Desktop Cutting Plotter. That's the file format I need. I'm going to click on that, hit save. My save box will come up. Remember, this is very important. Both of these need to be unchecked. As long as they are unchecked, you can go ahead and hit OK. Because we did a file save as, that created a whole different file. So we are still working with the original. I need to open up that new file. Easy way to do that, go to File, Open Recent, and there on top, and our logo. I'm going to click that. The opening box I don't have to worry about, so I'm just going to hit OK. And here we are. There's my logo. Let's zoom in here. Take a look. Ooh, that is rough. You can see some of my gradient traced a little there. Because I had an inner and outer line, let's take a look at my original image. I have this purple and this black part right there. I ended up with 4 lines. All around, a lot more work than I want to put into an image. But that's okay, because that's an opportunity for us to learn. And learn about a new tool we have over here, which is the Edit Node tool. Before we get there, though, we have to delete some lines. Let's zoom in here a little too far, and take a look. So far, just looking for me, it seems like the inside lines look much better than the outside too. I'm going to go ahead and delete the outside 2 of just the N. I'm going to worry just about the N right now. How am I going to do that? Well, remember there's 3 ways. I could simply click on a line and just hit delete, and I can go through. That's probably going to take a little while. I can use my box, which will be helpful in this instance. Remember, the box will only delete whatever is fully encompassed inside of it. So see how that's fully inside of it and it deletes. If I don't get it all in, it won't. So on these little lines, it is very helpful for me. Or I can use my erase tool. If I click on that, make sure the red X up here is clicked. Sometimes it kicks back to these cutoff tools. That'll actually add some lines. So we want to make sure we are in the red X one. At this point, this tool will delete anything that it comes into direct contact with. So any segment it comes into contact with, it'll delete. The longer the line, as you can see with mine, it's still thinking here. Be careful. Sometimes this could take a while. I'm going to go ahead and delete all these lines and take a look at it after we're done. That was a lot of work. Let's zoom out here a little. My N now is completely done. Let's go ahead and delete the exterior line of the R, so we're left with just our 2 lines, and then we can talk about editing these. We're almost done. Common thing I see kids forgetting is the inside here. So go ahead and delete the inside. I think we are done here. At this point, you should have deleted the outside 2 lines. Do not worry about these little open spots right now. And on the R, same thing. A common problem I see is students deleting the interior 2 lines. You'll end up with a drawing that looks like this. In this image, you can see the lines are thicker. While that might look better, it really doesn't look like the image we wanted to start with. And we end up with this weird part down here, which is a bigger problem. The thinner lines ultimately is the look that we want, so be careful. While this certainly isn't completely wrong, it is not what we intend to do in this class. This one right here is the image we want to work with. At this point, let's talk a little bit about editing these segments. You'll see if I click on these lines, a segment has a start and an end point. And if I zoom in, I can see anytime I click on one of these lines that there is a start and an end. If I hit Edit Path by Nodes and click on that line, you will see how it turns to a dot. These now are segments I can manipulate. The first most basic one is just by taking the line and moving it. You see by grabbing the end of it there, I can move it around and it'll snap back into place there. You might also notice that comes off these nodes is a little blue line with a dot at the end. This will actually let me manipulate just the edge of it to turn it, and that'll come into play here in a bit. Another neat thing I can do is I can grab the line anywhere and I can bend it and manipulate it any way I want. Be careful, if you double click on the line, you can add a node to it. And now when I try to turn it, it is anchored to that node. To get rid of these, I just simply click on it and go up here and hit the minus or delete selected node. And then my line will go back to how it was. Let's go ahead and use some of these tools to fix this NR. I'm going to start on my bottom line right here. How I like to do these is simply delete the line, click on the other segment, drag it over. You're thinking, Mr. Rhodes, that doesn't look any better. Well, if I just take the line by the middle, I can bend it, and you can see I have a little better curve here. This line, I can take up and raise this up, and you can see my line segments looking a little better. I have this little bulge here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Here's a common editing problem here. If I go ahead and just try to stretch these two lines together, what I'm going to make here is like this little hump. This, while it's not bad, when we go to cut our graphics out, you'll definitely see it. So what we can do here is if we just click on the line, I can take that bar and I can just straighten that down, and you can see that goes away. I can apply the same principle up here. If I just click on that and that bar, scroll up here, move this down, you can see I get a smoother line there. Let's talk about how close these should be. As you can see, I have a little gap right here. This isn't an issue at all. Issues are gaps like this. When we go to cut this out, the vinyl cutter will actually come over, come to this point, lift up, move over, come back down, and keep cutting. When we go to peel out our vinyl, this will cause it to stretch, or maybe something else will happen to it. We always want to make sure that these lines are touching. Be very careful with that. Though, again, remember, little white spot like that, not a bad at all. Let's zoom out here. Let's keep going. This looks like I could probably bend it a little more, so I'm going to. I bet you if I just come out here a little bit, come out here a little bit, that'll look a little better. So all I'm doing right now is just moving lines over, bending them. Oop, we come to another little straight point there. Again, I'm going to delete my line. I'm going to take one, stretch it over, whoop, like that, and then I'm just going to bend it. Does that look right though? No, that doesn't look right. Let's try doing it from the other angle. Oh, that looks much better. Different ways to bend it will give you different results. So go ahead, try it out as you go through. We have another little hump there. We'll get rid of that. Now I could delete this line completely and stretch it up. Because we are working with vector images that are math, these images can be stretched as far as you want, and they won't lose any thickness. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to keep going down here. Everything looks pretty good to me so far. Here is my little edge of my N. Whoop. Control Z will fix that. Remember, you have to grab it on the edge for it to move. Just going to move this over so it's a little thicker. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Oh, here we're coming to a little spot right there. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to click on it. That's a pretty big segment, but that's okay. I'm going to click on this. If I click on it twice, I'm going to get that little blue bar that I can manipulate. I'm going to grab it from the edge there. Oops. Grab it from the dot, make sure it turns red. I'm going to come over here, grab it a little from the middle, and move it over. That looks much better. Here's another jaggedy point, so I'm just going to delete the line completely. Move my node down, just take it up from the middle. Looks pretty good. Another little hump here. Hopefully you can see why we did this image. There's a lot of editing on it. Hopefully when you select your image, you will not have to do as much editing. Remember, if you find an image with enough resolution, a lot of this you will not have to do every time, but you always have to edit a little of it. We're getting down here to our trunk. Let's go ahead and delete these lines right here. And let's talk about another little feature. First, I'm going to stretch these lines just down a little. I need to add a line here to complete my segment. I could simply just take a part of this, copy and paste it, and try to fit a line in there. That'll certainly work, but that's very time consuming. What I'm going to use is another tool over here. If you look right under beneath the spirally tool right here, you'll see 3 drawing tools. We want to go to the middle one, the Draw Bezier curve, and we want to click on that one. You'll notice it has a little plus sign to it. That means we can draw with it. I'm going to click on one segment. Notice the color is red. I can't do anything until the color is green. I'm going to click on my other line segment. It turned green. I'm going to hit enter. A line segment is formed. And this segment is like every other vector line that I've created. I can click on it. I can move it. I can manipulate it any different way I want. So it's a very useful thing to know, especially when you trace some graphics. Sometimes you'll notice that some lines don't trace. So you'll use this quite often. Draw Bezier curve and straight lines. Let's zoom out here and look at my N. So far, so good. That looks far better than what we started at. We're up here, so let's start down here and fix this one up. I'm going to zoom in again. You can see I have my straight line. How do I get rid of those? Well, I'm just going to delete it. Take my node, take it over there, and just drag it down. I have some lumpy lines to deal with again. I'm going to delete, delete, delete. Now, we learned we could just draw a regular line here. Let's try and see how that looks. So I can click here, and I can go up here, hit enter. Maybe if I get the line a little more curvy, it might look a little better. Doesn't look bad. Take this one, move it in. That looks pretty good. So I can add lines to do that. I could probably delete this little segment here and try the same thing over there. I'm going to go down to that tool. Does not look bad at all. I'm pretty happy with this. Go around. Let me zoom in here. This looks like I have a little issue. Is this bad? No, but again, we want our stuff to be perfect, so I'm just going to move this image over here. I don't want it to overlap. Just straighten that up a little, and that'll look a little better. Let's keep moving around our image. Zoom out a little so we can see a little more. That looks pretty good. That looks like a little flat on top. I'm just going to pick this one up. Again, remember you have to pick it up from that little dot right there. That looks a little better. Coming down here, I do have this little segment right here that I could get rid of. But really, I think fixing this line is just as easy as just touching that and then zooming in. We can double click on this line here, change that there. That looks pretty good. We have the same issue down here. I'm going to stretch these lines over, get it a little closer. Same thing, going to go to my draw bar, click it over. It doesn't have to be on a line. I can just hit 2 parts, a start and an end, hit enter, and there I am. I can always come back and fix my line when I need to. Let's zoom out. That end looks significantly better than we started with. So a little time, little effort, we've gotten it to look pretty good. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the R here. I'm going to start at the tip of the R here. I got a little straight point. Again, how did I get rid of those? Well, I deleted them. Stretched them over. That has worked before. Let's see if it works again. That looks pretty good to me. Here we have another one of those. You can see this happens quite often, especially with the program we're using. A lot of times it will assume something is a straight point, so get used to doing these. That one doesn't look too bad. Let's try stretching this line up instead. Try it in reverse. Sometimes that helps. Well, that looks much better that way. So again, from the other previous one, just make sure you're double checking each way to do the line. Here we have a little hump here. This could be a little of an issue. It should kind of curve over like that. Let's delete this one here. Take this one straight up. Let's take this one straight up. Bend it in a little. Let's fix these other lines here first. Let's get rid of that curly Q. This one we can do there. Let's zoom in a little on this one. There. We'll take our, click on the line twice. We'll take this. Move that over. Let's zoom out and see how this looks. That is certainly looking better, but I know I can do that curve a little better. Let's zoom in here. Let's make our line over here a little more pronounced. This over here, kind of come over. Let's take this tip over here and move these a little over. And that's looking a little better. Let's zoom out. That looks far better once you zoom out. Do not get too bogged down in the details here. This is pretty good. We could probably stretch this out a little better if we want. But let's keep working on this. Let's get rid of these rough lines. Those are more what I'm concerned with. Stretching this down. Make sure the edges are going straight. That's an important part. Ooh, line detached there. It's all right. Ooh. This sometimes happens when you try to move it while it has the little blue selectors on there. So be careful. Common thing that happens. We have another little curly Q here in our line. Straight up like that. Oh, that's a big one. Let's get rid of that. Again, all I'm doing is clicking, moving the little line bar to it. Stretch that out. Looks much better. My R here, let's just move this in. So we have some thickness that is pretty consistent all the way through the object. Bottom of my R. Zoom out a little, we're getting a little close. Looks pretty good till we get to the top here. These ones I just like to move up a little. That looks pretty good. We could do the same thing over here. Then we got another one of those little lines. Let's zoom in on that one. Delete that out. If you're thinking this is a lot of work for an NR logo, you're absolutely right. Remember the type of image we selected though. This was the worst case scenario. So if you want to avoid a lot of this tedious stuff, select good images. For right now though, it's a good learning lesson for us. This little part could probably get bent in a little. R looks pretty good going that way. We have a little angle spot. Let's go ahead and delete This one, let's delete that one. Zoom out a little, make sure it looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Back over here. Ooh, we got some more of these lines. I'm going to go ahead and delete a little of this. Let's see where this line segment gets us. This is a little thick right there. Let's try just drawing a line in here and see what will happen. Looks flat, but I bet you if I bend it right there, oh, that looks nice. That NR looks significantly better than we started with. We still have to do the inside of this part right here, but we have a little trick for this one. I really only need to do this part once. And then I can just copy and paste and shrink it. So let's take a look at this outside. There's just this little hump right there. I'm just going to straighten that in a little. Zoom out again. I'm going to Control C, Control V. What's helpful to do here, if you go up to Object and Group, it'll make this into a solid object. That's helpful if you unclick it. You only have to click it once and you don't have to lose it. I can select this in here, but you're thinking, it looks a little off. If I click on this object another time, see how these turn to twists? And I can align it the same way. Let's zoom out. Let's highlight this and move this over. We haven't talked about this box at all. For what we're doing right now, this box really doesn't matter to us. This is the document properties. There are certainly projects we're going to use that are going to make use of this box, but for right now, do not worry about it. Taking a look at my image here, it looks so much better. But I still have some text to worry about. If we went through to try to edit this text like we did for that NR, we would probably be here for the next couple of weeks, and that wouldn't be very fun of a class. What we're going to do is come down to the same toolbar and we're going to find the letter A. When I click on that, I can start writing text. Mine's going down. That's because the last time I was using this program, I was using that. To change that, I can actually just go over to horizontal lines and it moves it right over. Once I have this typed out, I can take the little bars on the side, I can stretch this out, I can actually make it go upside down, backwards, bunch of fun stuff. Make sure you click on the text. If you don't, you can't do the next part. Once the text is selected, go up to text, text and font, and it'll bring up this separate box here. One of the next projects we're going to do is a font and text project. We're not going to take a lot of time talking about it right now. Just go ahead and select a font that you like. This one looks pretty good to me. I'm going to click OK. I don't need this box anymore. And then I'm going to take this and stretch this out. So it's roughly the same size as the old one. So I'm going to go there. That looks pretty close. I'm going to get this out of the way, select this whole thing, and delete it. And I'm going to move this down. We are not done yet, though. Text has one extra step. Text as it's written now is a bunch of individual lines, and we really have to tell Inkscape we want it to remain a solid object. To do that, you have to click on the text itself, go back up to Path, and now you're going to look for one that says Union. Once you click on that, it won't look like much happens to your text down here, but a lot did happen. If you're going through and saving your image and opening it up and the text is not showing up, it is probably because you forgot to union it. This is almost complete. What I want to do now is just do a file save as. You should honestly be saving a lot more. Remember, the computers crash all the time, and there's nothing special I can do to recover your files. Save, save, save. Once the box comes up, you're going to change the file name to whatever you like. I'm just going to keep mine NR logo. We're going to put a 1 over here just to show that we're changing a file type. And the most important part is the save type. We have to go and we have to find the DXF, or desktop cutting plotter. Click on that, hit save. This box will come up. Remember, it's really important both of these are unchecked. They are. I'm going to hit OK. Python's running, mapping out all of our parts right here. Once it's done, we can go over to File, Open Recent, and our logo 1. Don't need to worry about sizing because we're going to do that on a vinyl color, and hit OK. Here we are. Our NR is done. It looks pretty good. We changed our font and our text down here. That looks much better than we started with, and we didn't have to edit it. That is very helpful. Everything else looks pretty good. I'd be very happy if you turn this into me. At this point, if we wanted to, we could send this back to our cutter and actually cut this out. That's it for this lesson. I'll see you kids on the next one. Hey kids, I just wanted to give a real quick mention that after you save it as your DXF, when you go to close it, it is always going to give you a reminder of, do you want to close without saving? This is your SVG file. We really don't need your SVG file, so you can always close without saving.